happened to her since I've had her in my possession, from the purchase to where she's been and what's all happened to her. So for starters, this was back in 2013. I was living in Georgia at the time, and I was looking for my first car. I was looking at anything from Subaru WRXs, Fox body Mustangs, all kinds of stuff like that. And my dad suggested an older Chevy. And I was like, yeah, okay. And we found Molly on Craigslist up in Tennessee. She looked really nice in the photos and stuff. So we made a few calls. And one day we decided to make the road trip up there. We drove up from North Georgia to Tennessee. And I can't remember the exact city we were in. And after the first test drive, I decided that I liked her a lot. So, you know, we made the sale, and I drove her home. We were told that it had a 350. It ended up having a 305, but we didn't discover that till later. I had the 305 in Georgia, and then I drove it with the 305 all the way out to Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I lived out there for about 7 months, and that was when I really got into cars and stuff, as in like hanging out with people and going to car meets and just genuinely learning about them and learning what I want to do in life with cars and all that jazz. Afterwards, we moved here to Florida, and I drove it all the way from from Colorado Springs to St. Augustine, Florida. And I've been here for about a year. Let's see here, in about September of last year, I went drag racing with a 305 and blew it up. We still aren't 100% sure on what happened. I think a ring went out on the number 8, or we broke a piston on the number 8 or something like that. It just trashed the motor. It was about to go kaboom. So we ditched the 305, and we came into contact with a guy selling a 350. We went to him and picked up the motor. This guy didn't really know what he was doing with a 350. Building it, he just kind of threw it together and did a lot of things wrong. We realized none of this was going to work after we came into contact with a man named Lance. Now Lance is an older gentleman, a Vietnam War vet, and has been building small block engines and LS engines for years and years and years. And this man is a real legend by definition of the word. He's built so many motors, countless motors, and those are ranging from 400 horsepower to 2,500 horsepower with a Procharger and stuff. Like, this man just can build anything. Now, at first, Lance was just going to build the motor on his own, and we would wait however long and it would be done. But I had the awesome opportunity of helping build my motor. I mean, completely building my motor. He just told me what to do, and that was an incredible experience. We told him the power we wanted and our budget, and we built it. After we did that, we dropped it in, which we thought was going to be a good idea, but we ran into some problems that we didn't see coming. We put in that motor, and at first, the first thing we noticed is it was leaking oil horribly out the pan, and we had no idea what was going on. I mean, we were just absolutely clueless. The first time we did it, I didn't have breathers on both valve covers, and there was too much crankcase pressure, and I blew out the gasket. That was my fault. We went and got a new gasket, and I replaced it, and it was still just pouring oil. I fixed the breather problem. I put 2 breathers on, and it was still just spitting oil out everywhere. So we even went through to getting a new pan. We got an entire new oil pan and went through who knows how many quarts of oil replacing and troubleshooting, until finally we were just like, okay, what the heck? We're just going to keep going with the project, see if we can get this thing to drive a little bit, and then we'll sort out the leak. So we bolted it up to our old transmission, which we thought was a turbo 350, and ended up being a 375 lockup, which is the stock transmission in the 80 Malibu. They're built to hold about 150 horsepower, which I make take a little bit more than that. So we bolted up the converter, which was built for a turbo 350, and we hooked everything up to the motor just to see if we could get it on the road, and the car would not go into gear. It wouldn't move. You could put it in any gear and nothing would happen. It was like it was in neutral the whole time. And we were so confused until one day Lance told us to take it to his transmission guy. We took it and we opened up the minivan that we carried the transmission in, and as soon as the door opened, he goes, "That's junk." And we were like, "What?" It looks just like a turbo 350, but it's a completely different transmission. So we ended up trading him the 375 lockup and a little bit of money for the turbo 350, which is in the car now. And we got a new converter built by a man named Alan something, I can't remember at the time. And so we got it all bolted back up together. After we got it all put together, we went to take it out for our first drive, and it was still just pissing oil all over everything. It was smoking like crazy because the oil was dripping on the headers and stuff, and obviously that was getting kind of scary, so we stopped doing that. We kept diagnosing the oil and putting more oil in and changing out the oil and all that jazz, and we were just so confused until one day Lance said, "You know, maybe it's building too much pressure in the crankcase and there's nowhere for it to go, so it's just blowing out the back end of the gasket." So we hooked up a PCV valve to the two valve covers and hooked them up with vacuum lines going to the carburetor. And after we did that, we spent like $10 total on these PCV valves. We fired it up and it didn't leak a drop of oil. It was like a $10 fix. It was a total waste of time and energy. But I mean, that's the thing with hot rods and hot rodding and stuff. It just happens. That's how life is. And that's how we get to where we are now. Now, my plans for the car, I want to get the suspension completely redone. Coilovers, sway bars. I want to get a new rear end. I want to maybe get new control arms. I'm not sure. I want to upgrade the steering and get a new steering wheel. I want to put bucket seats in. I want to lower it and put it on new wheels and tires. And that's all going to come with time, and you'll all see that, of course. But for now, she drives good.